Welcome back, everyone, and welcome to NerdWide Podcast, episode 40. It's a 2-week jam-packed full episode of news and plenty of reviews for you, for all of everyone. If you're into our horror movies, we've got two for you this week. If you're into our What If and Titans, again, we got two for you this week, and we also have the Shang Chi review as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. But first off, I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my main man, Mr. Chris Rivers.
Going on, Tyler?
Well, the one of the reasons we're going on 2 weeks now and hadn't recorded the episode is I'm sick. I'm pretty sure it's a
Hmm.
sinus infection. At first thought it was strep because what everyone here at the house had. But with the amount of pressure I've got right here in front of my face is excruciating. So if I'm quieter more, not as energized, that's why. Trying to battle this. But,
Yeah.
we've got Chris here and we're going to make some fun with it. How's your past 2 weeks been?
Yeah. 2 weeks ago was all right. We had the holiday weekend,
Mm-hmm.
so that was good. And then at work this past week, we worked. They had us come in on one of our days off,
Of course.
so we technically worked overtime, but didn't get paid for overtime. We actually got straight time pay, so
Yeah. Hmm.
that
It
was
sounds like
not
American
fun.
labor.
And it was tough because there was so much I was wanting to get to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I had things on my mind, like, we've talked about Val,
Mm-hmm.
wanting to watch that. I've talked about the Hulu series with Rick Rubin and Paul McCartney. I've been wanting to watch that, and I need to get caught up on American Horror Story, and I just didn't have the time.
Yeah. So
So,
so many things to watch. Like I've got a list of maybe 9 or 10 now in my notes on my phone of TV shows and movies I want to watch. But it's just like there's been a lot going on. One with me being sick, but two with just video game showcases and things like when I'm working, I don't have time to watch the things I want to watch because I want to pay attention to it. So,
right.
and we'll get into that here in a little bit with our TV stuff because we'll just jump right into it. With TV, I tried watching Doom Patrol. I got maybe 3 more episodes in to season one. I'm just not that into it. Like
No,
it's not grabbing me, and I found myself not paying attention while I was working because I'm watching and work at the same time, and I found myself not even paying attention to what was going on. Like I would sit there and be working, come back 20 minutes or like the episode end, and I'm like, I don't even know what just happened. I wasn't paying attention or something. It's gonna be one of those I need to sit down and like pay attention to and
focus on
watch.
it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's not like a Batgirl I can have it on. It's not grabbing me either. So that might be part of it. But I've been watching. We watched our What If, our Titans. Um, been catching up on my Scrubs podcast because they had a live show this past Thursday, so I wanted to make sure I was caught up for it. Um, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, 100% caught up on. There's one episode left ever, and not ready for it, but it's part of
They'll
that.
do a revival in like 5 years and
I hope
bring
so.
everybody back.
That'd be nice because I mean they just have so much synergy. This season feels different because they're not so um, comedy centered than they are as much as they are realism because of it's
Right.
hard to be a black cop now, but be a black cop comedy show in the COVID world we live in too. It's kind of difficult, and they're handling it really well and doing it really well. But I
Mhm.
hate that they got picked up for one more season and it's more serious than it's comedy, but it's still a really good show, and I'm glad that they're doing it the way they are. And
Yeah.
um, Big Brother, of course, there's 6 episodes of that, well, 3 episodes a week, and we were behind, so we had to watch 6 episodes, and then Bachelor in Paradise, there's 2 episodes a week, so we're not even caught up on it yet. Which brings me into one of our shows that released this week was the season finale of Lucifer, or the series finale season of Lucifer. Haven't even started it yet. It dropped 2 days ago on Friday. It's bugging the absolute nonsense out of me because I want to watch it. But
I will say that about that, I heard, and this of course isn't spoilery, um, 'cause I'm a couple seasons behind on that. But I saw a post where I guess it was one of the creators said that they made sure to give pairs of characters their own scenes together, So it gave not only the characters but the actors the opportunity to say a proper goodbye
Oh, good,
in the series. So that you can expect that that's
good.
coming.
Because I'm real worried because of how they ended season 5. It it's different. I don't want to spoil anything, especially for you, for anyone else who's listening or watching that watches Lucifer. But there's something big that happens on the finale, and I'm just kind of like, well, where do we go from here?
Hmm.
And especially with this being the last season, it's one of those two. I love a show so much, I don't want to watch the last season, but I really want to watch it because it is one of my favorite TV shows. But we'll get there
Yeah.
eventually. Have you watched anything else other than our shows? I know with you working overtime, probably not, but
No, not really. Uh-uh.
so, so let's get right.
Well,
Oh,
I
ooh.
watched a little football today.
Oh, well, yeah, football's. I mean, I've watched.
You're you're happier to talk about your team than I am about
Yeah,
mine.
well, I'm a Steelers fan first, Titans fan second, and of course, being here in Nashville, I don't want to pay for all the NFL ticket stuff or anything, so I don't ever watch the Steelers games unless they're airing it countrywide. So I watched the Titans game, and that was so hard to watch today. Like, oh dear Lord, it was hard to watch. Um, been watching Commodores football, Vanderbilt. First week, 2 weeks ago was hard to watch. Last night I didn't watch because it was 9 o'clock because they were in Colorado playing, which we won apparently in the last 14 seconds by a kick. But so they're 1-1, but Steelers are 1-0, so that's all really matters. We're going to be honest here. All right, Chris. Spoilers tags are up for What If, and this was some fun ones. We'll start off with what if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands. The fun part that was different about this episode than the what was real was he in a car accident in the Doctor Strange movie, he loses his hands. That's what drives him to find into the mystic arts. This time, Palmer was with him in the car ride, and she dies, and we found out it's a what do they call it, a fixed point. Is that right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that was something that does not change no matter what you do. He essentially splits himself into two and goes down the dark mystic arts in one body. The other one is his normal one. They have a big fight at the end, and this is one of the times that we hear the Watcher saying, "I could have intervened, but I can't. I'm the Watcher," you know. And in
Yeah.
this universe, he destroys the whole I guess this universe and the multiverse, and just makes a
Yeah.
small little crystal that is just him. Everything else is dead and dying
Hmm.
and gone. And I was like, that was. I guess it's the one that's like the most dark, the most um, I don't know, dark, realistic kind of way. But this is also our first what if with a brand new character that we've never seen before with Obang, the guy that was guarding the library. But everybody else
Yeah.
was their character. Benedict Cumberbatch was back. Rachel McAdams was back. Tilda Swinton was back. So I mean, we had a lot. And I don't know if you noticed the reporter in the first, who was in like the scenes where they kept talking about Rachel McAdams, Christine Palmer dying, was the Leslie Bibb was her name. She's the same actress from Iron Man 1 and 2 with Robert Downey Jr. that he slept with in the first one. Same actress. They continued that going. I thought that was a really cool nod, especially to bring her back for that too.
Yeah. This one was it was really it was a fun watch. He finds out that there is one way to change a fixed point, and so he goes in search of, and that's where Obang comes in because he's kind of guarding all that knowledge. But I'm still I bring it up every time we talk about an episode. I'm still blown away by the animation on this
Mm-hmm.
show. It's phenomenal, and it was even more so in the next
Yeah, I
episode.
was about to say the same
Uh,
thing.
but it's I'm liking what they're doing. They're having to pick and choose on a lot of these because they're wanting people to have familiarity with the episodes.
Right.
Because there's a lot of what ifs that were done in the comics that were really good stories, but they can't well, they could put him in here, but the audience would have no idea what's going on, and so they're trying to tie it to the MCU. But I loved this episode. It was really interesting. He finally realizes where he went wrong, but it's too late.
Mm-hmm. He, you know, he. Oh, that was. It was heartbreaking, especially when she wakes back up and he tries to fix the fixed point, and it. She's like, no, I don't want this. And I
Yeah,
think the coolest part was a lot of people, because he's got the time stone, a lot of people were like, why can't he just change anything? Well, there's these fixed points in history and time that you can't mess with. And he kept trying, kept trying, kept trying. He said, well, what if I didn't get in the car? What if she's driving? What if? And it
yeah,
all still led to her death and
yeah. She
essentially
was
broke his
meant to
mind.
die
Right.
at that time.
It's crazy. I'm telling you, the Marvel people, they know what they're doing. Speaking of knowing what they're doing, that leads us to our next episode, which is What If, and all it is, zombies. What if zombies?
Yeah,
I was like, this is really well done. Of course, every single person was themselves in this episode. Uh, Essentially, what it is was an Ant-Man and the Wasp, where they go back to get the Wasp mom out of the quantum zone. She got infected with some sort
damn it.
of disease. Yeah, and bring that back, and that starts the zombie apocalypse. And I mean, it's Hulk comes back, Mark Ruffalo and Bruce Banner comes back, and no one's there to greet him. And he goes outside on the street just like in Infinity War. And oh god, I'm forgetting the characters' names. The two of the people from Thanos' group come down, essentially get
Oh,
killed and eaten. Ma and
yeah, Maul was the one that I.
uh, Ebony Maw, and the other big guy. And I thought it was really cool because we see the portal open up, Doctor Strange come through, we see Captain America come through. No, it was Strange and Iron Man, and they were getting beat up because I saw some smoke. And nope, no, they got eaten and turned into zombies themselves. And then Spider-Man comes through and rescues him along with Happy Hogan and stuff like that. I just thought it was a really cool episode how they did it. And of course, the cure essentially was Scott Lang as a head, but it was the Vision's Mind Stone can revert people back, but he doesn't want to because Scarlet Witch is bitten and she's a zombie. So he's been sacrificing, feeding them. He was feeding Black Panther to her to make her keep living,
Yeah,
and I thought that was very dark. And again, Chadwick
and
Boseman as Black Panther. So.
which was really wild because we were told
Mm-hmm.
the Black Panther as Star-Lord episode was his last thing he did.
Yeah,
And they even had the tribute there and everything, and
I wonder if it was because
he's
he
been
was I guess the main cast for
star.
that one. Yeah. And
Yeah,
this one he was more of a supporting cast and everything. I liked this a lot because What If Zombies or What If the Avengers Were Zombies is a huge What If comic book. Like I think I have
yeah,
one where it's What If the Avengers Were Zombies, but Deadpool's the only one who's alive and he has to like I've got a whole I think it's like a
I'm
six book issues.
I'm glad you brought up Deadpool.
Oh boy.
Have you seen the some of the stuff online about people theorizing
Uh-uh.
about this episode?
No.
So, at the very end there's the fence around the facility,
Mm-hmm.
and Vision takes the Mind Stone out, and all the zombies start headed toward the facility, right? And you see some of them, like you get a side view of some of them walking through the gate or the fence, and at the front of that group, now he's got hair, he's got a beard and mustache, but there's this guy dressed in red,
Hmm.
and he has two katanas on his back.
Trying to think, because when I was watching
And
this episode, I was trying to watch for characters like that. Because there was one other one that looked funky to me. I meant to look it up. Now you got me curious. I'm going to have to look that up later to see
people are
all the
thinking
Easter
that they
eggs.
just put the Easter egg in there to like get people talking, because like, hey, don't forget about Deadpool. He's gonna be coming.
Oh,
You know,
I can't wait. That's because they announced a couple more movies coming up mysteriously for 2022 and 2023 that have been unreleased titles, and obviously one's gonna be Fantastic Four. Maybe a Shang Chi 2 since it's doing so well. They've talked about, so we don't really know.
they've
Marvel
got
knows, but
they've picked the dates for what 2024
hmm
dates.
so everyone's like,
So
could this be a Deadpool movie? But he's been busy. If we're, he'll let us know when they're making a Deadpool movie, and
yeah, the last I heard from him was the script is being worked on.
mm,
I don't even think it's done yet.
no, so they know what's going on. He's busy owning a football team over in Europe or Wales, and which is Europe, but
Oh, soccer.
yeah, soccer. Right? It depends on part of the country you're from, part of the world. I liked this episode. A lot of people reprised their roles. Everyone but Steve Rogers, of course. Iron Man didn't have any words in this one, so he was never credited.
He
Josh
just
Keaton,
growled or whatever.
yeah, he just did his little thing. Josh Keaton as Steve Rogers. Josh Keaton also did Steve Rogers in the first What If episode, so they brought him back into it. It's nice to see Emily Van Camp in this one as well. Sebastian Stan was looking like a hunk
Yeah.
in this episode with the long hair and beard. That's just, but I enjoyed this one. I think I liked this one. Of course, Paul Bettany as Vision, but I enjoyed this one, I think, more than the Doctor Strange one. But I just think I like the concept of it more of everyone still being zombies, but knowing how to use their powers, like Steve with his shield and stuff like that. That was kind of cool.
But his reflexes were gone
Yeah, but
because
his reflex, yeah, no super suits.
when Bucky throws the shield back at him, he can't react in time, and
hmm
it cuts him in half.
Yeah, he says, "End of the line, buddy." Oh,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Which brings us to beautiful. Of course, we are going right into our spoiler full zone of our Titans episode 6, episode 7 of season 3. We're going to kind of do these together. Lady Vic is episode 6, and episode 7 was 51%. We got a lot of Blackfire in these episodes. Heard a little bit more character development of what really goes on. The Titans trying to really reform her. I'm under this still the pretense that she's the bad guy, like the big bad of this season. But I mean, we're getting into these episodes, and it's still looking like Jonathan Crane and Red Hood. Of course, episode 6.
Unless
Go ahead.
unless we find out that she's influencing Crane.
She's kind of
There's
being the
someone above
mastermind or
him we
something.
don't know about.
Oh, see,
We also find out a lot about Barbara Gordon.
yeah, episode 6 with Lady Vic, like we see the pre Batgirl and Robin chemistry kind of going on here. We see them their first love scenes together. We find out that Barbara was
They were
stealing
stealing.
art stuff and returning it just to, I guess, to be a little bit of a rebel for her commissioner dad. She was like, I've been telling him for weeks that the security is just not right, just not good enough, and I'm proving it
Yep.
to him. And then that influences Robin to do it with her. And then we meet this new villain called Lady Vic, who is, I guess, Batgirl's prequel enemy villain. And she kind of comes back to try and kill her. She's not able to because Barbara is still a badass, even in the wheelchair and everything. And that was episode 6, and it kind of like led into Jonathan Crane influencing Robin, Jason Todd, and seeing him lash out against Jonathan Crane. And he just let some low-level thugs out with the anti-fear toxin, and it kills the family of the new Robin.
Tim Drake.
Yeah, Tim Drake.
Tim Drake.
And I was like, oh, we're finally getting his origin story. But then we get into episode 7, not mentioned. Like they mentioned that the 22
No,
people died.
They showed it in the recap.
Yeah, and I was like, well, I mean, can we finally get Tim Drake going here? But I really hope it's not going to be one of those things where it's going to be like the last 2 episodes we see Tim Drake.
Yeah, 'cause there's only like 6 episodes left.
Right, we don't have much.
I think.
And
I think it's 13 episodes.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm ready for it, and we still haven't seen Raven or Donna Troy either. So they're gonna all have to be the
We
last
got
half,
Donna briefly
right? In a flashback scene.
in that flashback.
So
Yeah.
I'm just ready for it. I enjoyed these episodes. The 51% was really good because it was more of a lethal blow to Jonathan Crane, and
Hmm.
he's on the run now, but he still has Jason Todd with him. I enjoyed the Blackfire scenes in this one and seeing a little bit more of how her mind works. We see a young kid just get shot and killed straight in the forehead by his mom, and Starfire
Yeah.
and Blackfire just okay. So, and they tortured the guy, and I'm like, oh, she killed Starfire kills the mom, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, we're still a
She cooked
little,
her.
yeah, she definitely cooked her, and I'm very curious to see where we kind of go from
You
that, or
know,
if there's gonna be any repercussions from it.
they did it differently, but you know what it reminded me of when I saw it? The way that the Joker kills one of those guys in Tim Burton's first Batman film.
Mm-hmm.
When he has the hand buzzer and he shakes his hand and
Right.
it electrocutes the guy and he
Electrocute
starts
fries them.
smoking.
It's This show just continues to be one of my most looked forward to uh, shows that I watch weekly. I didn't get to watch Stargirl this week, but Titans just every time I'm like, oh, I really can't wait for Thursdays. And it's one of those that I have to wait until the weekend because I want to watch it on my big screen with my surround sound to truly. And my
Right.
wife says the same thing. She goes, I really like the theme song. Don't. It's just so
Yeah.
good. And
You just got a copyright strike.
well, it wasn't that, it wasn't that good. But it's just one of those shows that I can't wait to watch every week, and seeing them as a team, we're seeing a little bit more of Gar as Beast Boy come out a little bit more. He was fighting the one guy, and his hand turned into a tiger paw, and I'm like, okay, all right, we're starting to get a little more aggressive with our powers. Superboy getting a little bit of a crush on Blackfire a little bit this week, and
Hmm.
a little celebratory boom chicka boom boom for Dick Grayson and Barbara at the end of this episode as
Yeah.
well. And then we find about
Yeah.
Oracle. Oh, that's a whole big point we haven't brought up is
They
Oracle.
yeah, they shut down Oracle.
Yeah, and that was a big moment, and I don't know if we can be turned back on again. I don't feel like, I mean, it was a big conversation piece all season long between Barbara and him. Like, here and there they talked about Oracle, but just to be shut down just like that, I think there's going to be something else with that a little later in the season. We'll kind of revisit it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's shut down for good though. But really enjoyed these episodes, and I just want more. I mean, that's all it ever comes down to. I just want more.
I think when Blackfire becomes the bad, and it might be this week because they've kind of crippled Jonathan Crane's operation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like he's kind of almost done. Um, I think they're going to have to battle Superboy a little bit too
Yeah.
because of that closeness he's getting. Um, I think he'll side with Blackfire against them, and then
Mm-hmm.
he'll realize he's wrong and
Well,
maybe
it's the
come
same
that
thing with
way.
Gar too. Gar is really trying to save Jason instead of take him
Yeah,
down and kill him like he's telling Dick every week. He's like, we gotta find him, not kill him. And he's like,
yeah,
he's being manipulated, which he is, which Jason Todd is very manipulatable, I guess. And it's Gar's the only one that can find out where he is, what's going on. And this episode ended with him talking to the chick that Jason Todd was talking to the first half of the season, and
yeah.
he's like, "You want to help Jason Todd? I want to help him too,
Molly, is
Molly."
that right?
Yeah, and I'm curious to see where that goes. Like, I feel like everyone is. It's a team show, but everyone is very well scripted in. Of course, we've got less characters to work with than we did in the past seasons. Like, we don't have Honk, R.I.P., and Dove. Dove is off, trying to find peace right now, and Raven and Donna Troy are off as well. So we don't have that many characters to direct and explore their stories. But the pacing, I feel like it's really well this season, especially these last two
Yeah.
episodes. And there's not a point where I'm reaching for my phone because I'm bored and just kind of scrolling through and killing time. And I just love this show. I want more. So that's it. That's all I've got for Titans. All right, guys, let's get into our news. Not a whole lot of TV news we have here. Our first one is Bridget Regan has been cast as Poison Ivy in the Batwoman Season 3. We're going to Variety.com by Joe Otterson. Batwoman has found as Poison Ivy. The CW series has cast Bridget Regan as the iconic DC supervillain for the show's third season, Variety has learned. Poison Ivy, aka Pamela Isley, is a former botany student of Gotham University, described as a passionate, brilliant scientist with a mind for changing the world for the better. But her plans shifted when she was experimented on by a colleague injected with various plant toxins, which turned her into the infamous Batman villain Poison Ivy. So, I'm curious to see how this one works, because with a formidable power coursing through her veins, Pamela used her powers to do what she thought was right, even if Batman and those closest to her disagree with her dangerous methods. Now effectively wiped off the board for years, Batwoman and the Bat Team must prepare themselves for Poison Ivy to return with a vengeance. They go on to say that Reagan has been in Agent Carter. She's also been in Paradise Lost, The Last Ship, Jane the Virgin, and White Collar. So she's got superhero ties. I'm curious to see how she goes. I mean, again, Batwoman Season 2 was okay, not as good as Season 1. And I'm curious to see what happens with Season 3. Now we know our big bad villain for this one. But I'm excited. Poison Ivy, classic, iconic villain.
Yeah, we had Poison Ivy on Gotham,
Mm-hmm.
and they
Like
did
4 or
something
5
unique
different times.
where they were, yeah, like 4 or 5 different actresses. It was, but you met her as a kid,
Right.
and then
God, that
she
show was
what she
so
fell
ahead of
into
its
some
time, Chris.
she fell into some toxin, I think,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then aged, so she was grown. I think that was Maggie Eha,
Mm-hmm.
and then Peyton List took over the part.
Yeah, she was the last one,
There was
right?
another one. Wasn't there another one in the middle
Yeah, because I think
between
it was
Maggie and
one
Peyton?
one kid and 3 adults.
Yeah.
Like something just kept changing, and that's again, this show's just ahead of its time. If you haven't watched Gotham, you really need to watch it, especially if you're very much into the Batman lore and history and stuff. It's such a good show.
I
Speaking
wonder
of,
what.
oh, go ahead.
No, I was out loud wondering what streaming service it's on because it was a Fox show, so you would think it might show up on Disney Plus, but at the same time, it's a Warner Brothers property. Um,
It's still on Netflix.
Still on Netflix.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Well, there
I'll
you
be.
go.
Well, there you go. Netflix it up, everybody. Number 2 here, Bel Air finds its fresh prince and newcomer Jabari Banks. I am going to Deadline.com for this one by Denise Petsky. Bel Air has found its will. Newcomer and West Philadelphia local Jabari Banks has been tapped to play the iconic role of Will. Originated by Will Smith and Bel Air, Peacock's drama reboot of Smith's 1990 sitcom The Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Nope, not into
Yeah.
this show. I just
I think it's odd that the actor that they cast, his real last name is Banks,
yeah,
and that was the name of the family in the first
and he's
in the
from West
original
Philly,
one.
so I'm just
Born and raised.
I'm just not. I enjoyed the '90s, The Fresh Prince of Bel Air. I'm just
Yeah.
not, especially with
No.
this being I think it's a Peacock streamed original. I'm,
Yeah.
I don't have that service, and I refuse to pay for another service really, because I already
Now,
paid for however many.
if they were going to um, get Will Smith involved,
Well,
and it
he's
was going to be
producing
like,
and writing and stuff, but like he's not doing anything else.
right, but that's what I mean. Like, if he was going to be on camera and this was going to be like his kid
Mm-hmm.
and him being the parent,
Oh, I would buy
you
Peacock for
know,
that.
and that, but again, it's like they go part way. They don't want to go the full
Mm-hmm.
way
Well, and they're
to get
making it a
people
drama
invested.
and not a comedy, and I'm just like,
Uh,
I don't
but
care.
then you're not going to have that chemistry like Will and Jazz had.
No.
And you're not going to have an Uncle Phil to throw Jazz out the front
No,
door.
oh, just R.I.P. James Avery. All right, here's a fun
Yeah.
one, and our last one for TV. Kind of ties into all three of our normal topics. DC Fandom has been revealed, and it is on October 16th. Going to TheVerge.com by Andrew Webster for this one. Last year, DC had an impressive showing at its virtual Fandom event, and this week the company revealed it's doing it again very soon. Fandom will return on October 16th and will feature updates, trailers, and reveals covering what looks like to be a big range of projects from across film, television, comics, and video games. That includes an exclusive new trailer for the Robert Pattinson-led The Batman, looks at movies Black Adam, The Flash, and Aquaman The Last Kingdom, more details on the upcoming seasons of Harley Quinn, Batwoman, The Flash, Superman and Lois, and Sweet Tooth, reveals for games Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League, and a whole bunch of comic news, including the next chapter of the Fortnite and Batman crossover events. You'll be able to watch the event
Just
live.
like you said, comic nudes.
Comic news. You'll be able to watch the live event on October 16th, starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time across a number of platforms. Also, there says there'll be a kid-friendly version will be airing on the same day on separate channels, but it is just a one-day event this year. So, I'm excited. The Fandom last year was a lot of fun. I mean, we learned a lot. There was a lot of nonsense that was also in it. But especially with us, well, with me being caught up on all of these shows, I can actually watch some of the things now with The Flash and Batwoman and things like that. So I'm excited. Of course, get to see more of Gotham Knights. One of my most excited for, most looking forward to video games that was supposed to come out this year, got delayed till next year. I want more of it, and this looks like, because we haven't seen anything from this year from it at all since it was announced last year. And I'm here. I'm here for it, and I'm ready for it to happen. And I'm glad it's only one day instead of my whole weekend I have to spend watching. So
Yeah. And it's gonna, let's see, when does Flash drop?
that should be, because it comes back in October.
Okay, so right around that same
Yeah.
time.
So they'll have a
And
little
it
bit more info.
and the first bit of the season's gonna be the big crossover.
Yeah,
So
it
that's
is.
gonna be
First, I think it's at 8 episodes. No, that can't be right. First 3 episodes.
5.
5. But it's got 8 different characters in it. We talked about that
Yeah.
last time. Releases this week for the past 2 weeks for 9/6 through 9/19. Friday, September 10th for both of these shows. Lucifer season 6 finale, series finale, and Friday, September 10th as well. Pokemon Journeys, both dropped on Netflix. Now, Chris, before we get into this movies, we're gonna have a lot to talk about here. Have you watched anything else before we jump into it?
No.
Okay.
No, just the 3 movies that we're gonna cover.
I know. Okay, I'm ready. Launch us into our first one, Chris. I'm here for it.
All right, first up, it's Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
So good. Now,
And
it's been out
Go
2
ahead.
weeks. Do we want to do spoilers for this?
I think if the spoilers tag is up, I tell you what, let's talk in generalities
Okay.
initially, and then we can do a little spoiler section at the end.
Okay. What'd you think of the movie? You saw it more recently than I did.
I I love the film.
Mm-hmm.
I think on Letterboxd I gave it 4.5 stars.
Speaking of.
It was um this would be like an A film for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna go A plus because there were a couple little things that could have been done maybe, but very minor things that would have put it in that category. This the effects, you always know you're gonna get top of the line
Mm-hmm.
effects with Marvel films. The fight sequences
Oh, dude, that's
were
what I'm
amazing.
saying. The fight scenes were so well choreographed. And
Yeah.
and that was some of my favorite parts of the movie. Like every fight scenes, mainly the scaffolding fight, and then the fight in the room after the scaffolding fight. I'm not gonna reveal
Uh-huh.
what happened at the end of it, but between him and the masked guy, that was so cool. And a lot of people are comparing it to the Winter Soldier fight in Captain America,
Hmm.
and I'm telling you, it's top notch. Like Marvel knows what they're doing. Period.
E- Even the bus scene,
Yeah, the bus scene that's in
right?
all the trailers that was awesome.
Yeah, and you're not you're expecting it because you've seen the trailer. But if you're just sitting there watching the movie and you're lost in the story, all of a sudden it starts, and you're like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, this guy's you're kind of having the same reaction that Aquafina's character Katie
Mm-hmm.
is having.
I thought they did a
She's just
phenomenal job with her as like a supporting character. I really
they
liked
really
her.
did. They really did. And it's one of those classic Marvel movies in the sense that you get all this action, you get all this drama, but you get this dose of comedy dropped
Mm-hmm.
in at just the right points to kind of alleviate you from some of that drama before you get to the next serious part of the story. And I also love the way that they kind of retconned in a sense the Mandarin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they gave us they gave us that.
So they
Um,
Disney Plus dropped the little short that you can normally get in for Dark Worlds, which was
hmm.
the little 8 minute. I meant to send this to you to watch before you watch Shang Chi, but it's All Hail the King, and it's with Trevor Flattery or Lattery in prison, and
Uh-huh.
I could spoil this because it shows him being broken out by the Teen Rings, and the guy says, "My boss wants to talk to you," and he goes, "Well, I don't know your boss." He goes, "Oh, but you've been playing him for the past 2 years," and that's when it just ends. It just drops. I'm like, oh. And so I watched it because I read somewhere on Twitter they said, if you need to watch this going in, it might have been BD from comicbook.com's commenting on it, and it kind of like led into that. So when I saw the actor Sir Ben Kingsley on the red carpet, I was like, oh, so he's actually going to be in this film. So I made sure I watched that as well. I meant to send that to you, but it's pretty good. Uh, he was a surprise character to see in this. The post-credit scenes were really good and really hopeful for the future.
Yeah.
This film to me, I gave it I'd be like right at A minus A for this film. It I like this one and Black Panther had the same reaction on me where I don't know anything about these characters going in, but when I left the theater and left watching the movie, I absolutely love it, and I just want more and more and more of these characters. Uh,
Hmm.
and Black Panther still I like more than this one. The only thing holding the Shang-Chi back was its slow times were really slow. I don't feel like it was much of a pacing issue as much as a story issue. They had flashback scenes, and they kept going back to the flashback scenes, and
Yeah.
kind of like build upon it. And I was like, I don't want to see this anymore. Like they kind of replayed the flashback scene with a little bit more context. And to me, I just didn't really want that, and that's what took it down from an A plus for me. Again, I gave it an A minus A, but those are the only things holding it back. But like we were saying, the fight scenes are phenomenal. The lore and then the artistry and the filmography of the whole thing was absolutely beautiful. And I
Hmm.
mean, they're going to make a second one. There's no way they don't. And I can't wait to see Shang-Chi or Sean, if you will, and Aquafina's character in future movies, especially Shang-Chi being in the Avengers. I can't wait for that. That's going to be a lot of
Yeah.
fun and what his character brings. Um, and I can't wait. I mean, it's going to be such a good future. A lot of people were saying people aren't going to be interested in these films post Endgame, but I'm just as excited for the next couple of films than I was back in Phase 3 and Phase 2. So I am all in on these little movies, especially these characters that I know nothing about.
Yeah. I'm I'm really gonna struggle with some of the names here.
Yeah.
Um, Tony Lung Chi Wei, I think is his name. I think that's how it's pronounced. He played Mandarin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I read that this was, even though he's been fluent in English for years, right? This was his first American film.
And he is a phenomenal actor.
Yeah. Like he made you want to watch more. Like when his arc plays out the way that it does, you're just
Hmm.
kind of like, okay, well, I want more.
Right.
Like, you know. But yeah, um, Ben Kingsley, of course, is
Stole the
fantastic.
show. He honestly
Um,
stole the movie.
you get Benedict Wong back in this.
Hmm.
Um,
Which you see briefly in
he,
the trailers. I didn't realize he had that many lines in this movie.
right, right. The trailer show him fighting Abomination,
Hmm.
and and which
That's interesting.
that's a really good little
Yeah.
scene. Yeah, that apparently they're on the same page,
Hmm.
kind of. Are we going to the spoilers yet,
Yeah,
or are
let's.
we?
The spoilers tag is up for Shang-Chi. Again, if you're listening on audio, scroll through for a couple of minutes because we're going full on spoilers for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. If you have not watched it, skip ahead 5-10 minutes until you get to where we're not talking about anymore because I don't want you to be spoiled by this movie. It's really good. So,
Yeah.
during that little scene, and because I thought we were going back to the place in Falcon and Winter Soldier, that city, Mangerpore, I thought that's where we were going to, but it
Hmm.
was this is someplace in China,
Macau.
Macau, and that whole little scene there was you have extremist soldiers in there, you have people from Black Widow movie that we watched. Some of the Black
Hmm.
Widows are in those fighting scenes. Like some of the like actresses we watched are in there. But to me, what was the funny part was it looks like Wong is training Abomination
Abomination.
because he
Yeah.
Abomination's on the raft, and that's where Wong sent him back to was the raft. And I'm like, okay, we're getting a little bit of world building in here, and I thought that was really cool. Of course, the biggest thing that I want to talk about spoiler wise is the post credit scene, the first one,
Yeah.
where I did not expect to see Mark Ruffalo. I did not expect to see Captain Marvel at
Brie
all,
Larson.
Brie Larson, and I thought that was really well done. And the whole post credit scene where he's talking to the lawyer friend, tell him everything that's going on, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't believe you." And the Wong comes in through a portal, and he goes, "Shang Chi, Shang Chi." It's just so funny, like he was reading off of like a hostess at your local Cracker Barrel or something, and he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, I need you."
Here.
Yeah, here he said. um, and like he went through it, and it was to find out that when he first put the rings on from his dad, it's broadcasting a signal somewhere and no one knows where because these rings are so old, and which I think it leads into the Eternals somehow, some way. I feel like we're leading up to something, but
If it's not leading to the Eternals, you would think it would have to lead to Galactus or the Silver Surfer.
right, it leads to something
It's
cosmic because this is none of these
yeah,
worlds,
no.
and I mean, some would say like Thanos, but I mean Thanos is already done and all that stuff, so it's not him. But I thought that was really cool because we got more of they're still keeping in touch with each other. Wong, Doctor Strange, and everything, obviously all keeping in touch with each other. And I wonder if that has something to play into with Spider-Man, the new movie, because we see Wong going on vacation, so to speak. He's got his bags packed. Is he going with Shang-Chi somewhere? Is he training Shang-Chi? Is he with Abomination? Or is he going recruiting more people? Or is he trying to investigate? I mean, there's so many questions with this. And I thought it was like one of the funny parts of that was um, Captain Marvel. She goes over her earpiece. She goes, "Okay, I got something to take care of. If you need me, call me. Bruce has my number." And Bruce goes, "I don't have her number."
She, yeah, he's like, I don't have her number. She always does this.
But what's funny to note about that though is he's not in Hulk form. His arm is still hurt from the
Right.
snap, but he's in his human form. So what do we have going on there? And it's just there's so many
Yeah.
like they do this so well. But I love this post credit scene because they're even keeping Aquafina character Katie involved. I mean, she didn't really have any
Hmm.
powers or anything like that, but she's still pertinent to the story, so they're keeping her around. And then, of course, the post credit scene was of the Ten Rings, and of course, the little title card we got, the Ten Rings will return um, after will return like we only get for the Avengers. So
Yeah.
It's really exciting.
Yeah, it was really, really well. All the actors,
Oh,
like
everyone.
they perfectly cast this movie. Um, and again, the choreography, especially when you first see Mandarin meet um oh Leiko,
Falachin,
his
her
his
character,
his yeah,
the
his
wife.
his wife in Talo, and she's in that clearing, and in fighting him, she is the moves that she's going through are just so, it's almost like a ballet.
Mm-hmm.
They're so graceful, but they can stop him at the same time.
Right.
He's not able to defeat her. So all of that, the even the environments that
Oh,
they
the
had, and
Talo were so beautiful. Like the even the forest, like you were talking about, they were fighting in, but like the actual mystical place itself was absolutely beautiful, and
hmm
it just I loved it. I can't wait to see more of it. I felt like because this was shot during COVID times, I felt like it was. I feel like we would have bigger set pieces because if you notice that final fight scene, there weren't a lot of people, and they were just in that one clearing, and to me, it didn't feel that fleshed out with everybody. But I think that had to do with COVID. So to each their own. I'm glad we
yeah,
got what we got, but to me, that's one thing I
yeah.
noticed.
I know that it was done with the idea of his grief being the driving force of Mandarin's grief over the loss of his wife. But at the same time, he's also very, very intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think that as he was trying to destroy the gate, he would have realized, hey, these things keep flying out of the tiles,
Hey, what are these?
and they aren't her.
Right.
So I was a little bit disappointed in that. That was one of the things where it was like, he should have been a little bit more questioning of it, because even when Shang Chi comes over and tries to stop him, he tells him, "Look, she's gone. She's not behind here." He he still doesn't believe him initially. It takes things really getting serious. It takes
Mm-hmm.
that huge beast, the dragon or whatever, coming out for him to realize, oh crap, you know. And I wish that had been slightly different,
Yeah.
but I also like the fact that they kind of they they set up this mentality, or not really a mentality, but they have Shang-Chi and Katie talking to a couple of their friends earlier in the movie, the same
Mm-hmm.
ones they talked to in the post-credit scene, and they're basically getting on to them because all they do for a living is they're valets,
Right.
and they both have these. Well, Katie at least has this advanced degree and stuff, and she's just content to be a
Yeah,
valet.
she's
And
happy with the
they're
way what
like,
she's doing, and her family's like, nope, we don't like that.
yeah, yeah. But it does bring up an interesting question. Were they unable to move into something that would, this was their path?
Mm-hmm.
They needed to be in a job like that they could basically walk away from because this was their destiny.
Mm-hmm. Was at their
So,
fixed point.
yeah,
So
they couldn't move on to do something else for a career.
I love it. They said, we could go home because we got to work early in the morning, or go sing karaoke
They
late
go,
at night
yeah, and then the post credit scene
with Wong.
with Wong, where they're, what was it, Hotel California
Mm-hmm.
that they were singing?
They said,
Just,
he goes, go home, rest, and we'll start training soon. And then they said,
we could do that.
or such, so well done. I love it. I can't wait for more. But that was Shang-Chi. And now the next two movies, we don't have to put a spoilers tag on because there have literally been decades between. So
Yeah, Yeah, one more so than the other.
Yeah.
Um, so first up, this was to be last week's film, 1932's Freaks. This was what we opened our horror series with um, for this year. We're doing the horror movies, of course, through September and October. Now, I've seen this a few times. It's only an hour and 4 minutes long.
Mm.
Um, I've seen it a few times, and I like it. I like it because more so from a historical perspective. They used actual sideshow
Mm-hmm.
performers in the movie. So when you see the conjoined twins, that's actually conjoined twins. When you see the pinheads, those are actual pin. These are not people that are made up like American Horror Story had a uh, Schlitzie character in two of their seasons, and it was an actress made up to
Mm.
look that way. These were actual pinheads. And pinheads, for those that don't know, are people who their skulls are smaller than they should be. So their brains don't develop in the same way. They're not able to mature mentally much beyond probably like an 8-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
um, and some even less than that. Um, and the film is basically about what goes on at a sideshow when a I think they even refer to her in the film as a normal.
Yeah.
Um, she begins this get rich quick scheme with one of the sideshow performers who is what's today's acceptable little person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he supposedly has money and he's very well off. His name is Hans, and he's infatuated with her, marries her, and then right away on at the wedding dinner, she poisons him
Yep.
and begins to slip him little bits of poison to just keep him sick. She talks down to the other sideshow performers who are different, and it turns out at the end she gets what's coming to her.
Very,
When
very much so.
they make her as they say, one of us.
Mm-hmm. Very
Yeah,
traumatizing.
she in fact, well, and the thing at the dinner they're celebrating. You know, they're trying to be happy for him, even though a lot of them don't like her, and they're chanting, you know, one of us, and passing this goblet around for everyone to drink out of, as a way of trying to welcome her in. And she's had some alcohol, so she's infuriated that they would think that she's one of them and insulted and lets them know it. And so and I've seen a couple of different endings with this. One has them just stalking toward her, and the other they're all chanting as they walk toward her, one of
Mm.
us, you know, and then
It's real
they
creepy.
yeah, because there's a guy in the film that has no lower body.
Mm-hmm.
He's just
Just arms.
from like the waist up, and he walks around on his hands. There's another guy that has no limbs at all.
Mm-mm.
He's a torso with a head. And there's a scene where they showcase him and how he lights a cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Very carefully.
yeah, it's very, very carefully. Um, I've always liked the movie. I think on the rewatch, I entered it on Letterboxd and gave it 4 stars. Just again, its relevance. Directed by Todd Browning, who directed the original Dracula with Bela Lugosi. But I'm interested, Tyler, in your thoughts because this was a first time watch for you. And this is a very different film. This isn't,
Yes, and probably the oldest movie I've ever watched in my life. Um,
yeah,
it it was okay. It was hard for me to follow. Again, a little bit of context. We watched this just after Vanderbilt got absolutely decimated here at home, and so I was already in a sour mood. but we watched it, and it was a little bit harder for me to follow in certain things, because I kept getting the two blonde heads mixed up.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
once I was like the poisoning scene and stuff, I got a little bit better. The guy, the I guess it was the strong man, the guy that
Mm-hmm.
there's the one scene where he was fixing the tub. Maybe not the strong guy. He was the good guy,
No, no, he's the clown.
the clown, and he was fixing the tub. Made me laugh out loud when they were
Mm-hmm.
exactly like he was taking a bet, and then he just stands up when they pan out. Probably my favorite part of the whole movie. The the creepy part at the end where they're going to kill. Well, we think they're going to kill her after they found out he was poisoned. Um, and the one guy with no limbs starts rolling through, and they all started like slowly. I was like, okay, all right, we're getting real freaky deaky here. And then we find out that the opening scene was actually them looking at her, and not some of these
Yeah.
other freaks, quote unquote. I put on there for audio listeners, but I didn't really enjoy it. I was
Yeah.
really glad it was an hour long, but it was, I don't know if it wasn't really just my kind of movie, or if it was the mood I was in, or I, but like that was this wasn't very memorable to me. I think I put it on Letterboxd at 2.5 stars, which comes
Mm-hmm.
in, D plus C minus for me. Uh, but for its time, it looked really good, and I could see why a lot of people would like it back in the 30s. And man, it was creepy. That last scene was real
Yeah.
creepy. I mean, it was with the whole the carriage carts toppling over and them coming out, and I mean, she got the justice done to her. And then poor
Yeah.
Hans is miserable. I don't know why he couldn't see that he was being played anyways, but miserable in his mansion when they all come back in, and poor guy.
Got this real nice mansion and
Right.
everything, and the oh, I'm forgetting her name. The other little person that was in love with him.
Mm-hmm.
If you'll notice, they didn't have any romantic scenes,
Right.
right? Like they didn't kiss or anything. There's a reason for that. They're brother and sister in real life.
Oh.
They were
Oh.
two of the members of what's known as the Doll family, and the guy that played Hans, and again forgetting his name, is he was actually one
Harry
of
Earls.
the three. Yeah, he's actually one of the three members of the Lollipop Guild in The Wizard of Oz. You know, when they walk up and
Oh, yeah.
they're singing. Yeah, he's the
Huh.
one when they cut to show them head on. He's the one on the far right.
Hmm.
So, um, but that family, they had a lot of success in the entertainment industry at that time. But at the
No
very
kidding.
beginning, the way the movie opens is you see a carnival barker talking to some patrons, and he shows them something in a box. Talks about how hideous
Mm-hmm.
and this and that, right? And at the end, you see that it's this. What's her name? Olga.
Mm-hmm. Olga Baklanova.
Yeah, you see it's Olga. And what these sideshow performers have done to her to make them one of us, you can't even really explain. It looks like she now somehow has the body of a chicken
Yeah, like they cut
or a
her legs
swan or
off,
something.
maybe, or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And there's a bunch of feathers, and then she can't speak. She can
Mm-mm.
only make bird sounds.
Yeah.
And they just completely transformed her, which
A little,
she had it coming.
little bit of a stretch.
Uh, but she had it coming. Well, I don't know, man. Like, who knows? Maybe someone knew some voodoo.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I would say that this is something that if you're really into horror, it's one of those older movies that you hear people that love horror movies
Mm.
bring up a lot. So you should probably watch it at least once. Um, but it's not for everybody.
Right.
It like you said, it moves a little slow, and then when it does start to get to the part that's creepy and scary, movie's over.
Mm-hmm. It's like the
It's
last
right
10
there at
minutes
the
of it.
end. But our next film that we watched for this week um, is 1996's Scream
Mm-hmm.
by Wes Craven, written by written by Kevin Williamson, um, and a whole host of well-known people. I mean, Courtney Cox,
I
David
had no idea
Arquette,
she was in it.
yeah, Nev Campbell, Drew Barrymore, Rose McGowan, Skeet Ulrich, Jamie Kennedy, Matthew Lillard.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Shaggy.
yeah. Um, Henry Winkler pops up in
Yep.
this in an
Didn't expect to
uncredited
see him
role.
either.
I mean, there's a ton of well-known people in here. Now, I've seen this a lot.
First time.
This was first time for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did you think?
I really enjoyed this movie. A lot of people reference Scream, and one of the things, obviously, very big spoilers, was it wasn't one person doing it. It was two acting as a duo, and that's why he was able to be so many places at once and do it. And I thought it was really, I enjoyed it. The guy, I forget the character's name, but he was talking about the horror movies. The virgin always makes it out alive. If you say
Mm,
you're going to be right back, you're never going to come back. Like he made up these rules for horror movies.
yeah, yeah, it's
And
Jamie Kennedy's
Jamie
character.
Kennedy and like Randy, because everyone thought it was Randy behind the mask. And I thought it was so cool. And Jamie was telling me a little bit of history with it. It was they when during the trailers and things, they made Drew Barrymore seem like she was the main actress, and
Hmm.
she dies off the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie. And she
Yeah,
said that was like because I mean this was during her her growing up as one of the big movies. I mean I was when this movie came out I was 3, and she said that was like one of the big allures to it was it was supposed to be Drew Barrymore as the main character, and they did a total shift and killed her off right at the beginning. And I just it wasn't scary to me. I like these old thrillery shows like Halloween. Halloween's the same way. Um,
hmm,
but this one is,
there were a lot of nods to Halloween
yeah,
in this too.
and Halloween was even playing in it like towards the end,
Hmm.
and I thought it was really cool. The deaths were pretty creative. The garage death was really cool.
Yeah, Rose McGowan
Yeah,
gets,
I really
yeah,
enjoyed seeing like and we watched this with Zoe and my oldest daughter, and she said she there's no one. How do they have? Because they showed like the next scene. There's a bunch of beers around the table, and she was like, I thought she was going out for beers, and it makes sense because the guy that killed her brought the beers back, I guess, or whatever, and no one ever really ever questioned it anymore. I love Matthew Lillard. He's one of my favorite actors when he pops up in things. I've loved him since he played Shaggy, and seeing him in this movie, I was like, he might be the killer because we were playing this whole game, who's the killer, who's not, and then I remember so Scream Queens is a little spin-off high school college. No, it's a college show about 4 or 5 years ago, and I watched it with my little brother. He watched it a lot. And it's like I kind of pay attention to it, and I remember the big premise of it was there were multiple killers, and then
yeah.
my daughter says, "Is there more than one killer?" And then it got me thinking. I was like, "Oh," I said, "I bet there is because Scream Queens is kind of based off of Scream, and they had multiple killers. So I imagine that's where they got that from." And sure enough, but when Skeet Ulrich's character Billy came walking on the steps at the end, and he was like, he can't breathe, he falls down the steps or whatever. I was like, dude got like 3 knife wounds to the chest. He would be dead. And turns out it's fake. And I was like, oh, duh. I can't turn that nursing brain off. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm giving this one a B or a 3.5 stars, 3.5 to 4 stars on Letterboxd. I just thought it was fun. And it's one of those, Halloween horror movie classics that they've made, obviously the spin-off movies of that make fun of it. And then they made the, 2 and 3. And there's even,
Yeah,
aren't they
scary movie.
remaking one of
Well,
Scream?
I Yeah, I think they are bringing it back as a movie. It was a TV series for a minute, on MTV, I think.
Mm.
And yeah, the Scary Movie franchise made fun of it. Um, like the famous scene where she's getting the call and she's like, "You don't see me," and she's like, "Yeah, you're behind the chair," and like your whole
Yeah.
butt and legs and everything are sticking out. Um, this film, I gave it 4 stars. I put it in like the B plus A minus range. Um, there were some interesting little tidbits because I've seen the movie often enough that when I put it on to watch it, I was like, I'm just gonna watch it with the commentary track going because it was a commentary with Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven,
Mm.
and they were talking about some stuff that, like the when we first see Billy, he comes into Sydney's room
Hmm.
right through the window. That's kind of a shout out to a scene from Nightmare on Elm Street where Johnny Depp's character
Mm.
comes in through Nancy's window to see her. Um, when Henry Winkler is in his office, he's the principal of the school, and he's in his office, and he opens up his closet. Hanging in the closet is Fonzie's leather jacket from Happy Days.
Oh, no kidding.
It was, yeah,
I missed
it
that.
was kind of
So
like a
when
little,
he
yeah,
when he was looking for someone watching him or whatever at the door, there was a janitor that had the brown hat and then the red and green stripes like
yeah,
Nightmare, and
Freddy
I
Krueger.
noticed that one.
Yeah, yeah.
That's little
And
nods.
they also pointed out, though, something that I guess it was a choice. I guess it was a choice Henry Winkler made just as part of character development. Um, the first scene where we see him in the principal's office and Sydney's in there, right?
Hmm.
And he kind of reaches down to kind of, I guess, reassure her or whatever. And he takes his hand and he kind of cups her chin and kind of gives it a little bit of
Mm.
a stroke. There's this look from the sheriff, right? The sheriff's sitting there looking at him, and then he gives this look like, what are you doing? But he did it on purpose to just add something to that.
Hmm.
Um, they said that this film on about 10 different occasions when they submitted it to the ratings board got an NC-17
Why?
for all the gore.
Oh.
Um, so they went back once it came out years later on Blu-ray and streaming. They actually um, reinserted all these scenes. So the scene where you see Drew Barrymore dead in the tree,
Right. Hung up.
they had to initially cut half of the frames out of that scene so that it went quicker
Hmm.
because the ratings board was like that's too much. So they just reinsert because she's not only hanging there with stab wounds, her
Yeah. Her
guts have
guts
been
were just in there
cut out.
dangling.
Yeah. Um, the school that they wanted to use said no. So the parents, everybody was cool with it. The school board said no
Shocker.
because they read the script and they were like, "Oh, we thought this was a comedy. No, you can't. This is way too gory. You can't do this." So they had to use an elementary school, you know, over in another community. Um, so it's kind of fun finding out some of that stuff.
Right.
But this is this is one of those Halloween classics. Every October, this is one of those films that needs to be watched. Just go ahead, put it on
Go
your
ahead, put it
list.
on and watch it. I liked it. I mean, it was. I think Courtney Cox's character was probably my favorite besides Matthew Lillard's.
Hmm.
But I really didn't expect to see her. Of course, this was during the Friends time as well, and I felt like she did a good job, and her character was so compelling. And then her and Sydney arguing and the whole history with them, And the only thing I didn't like, was, of course, was the end where she's trying to take it all for herself. You know, she's just gone through this whole traumatic experience, but she's only worried about her time and screen time and stuff like that. I just thought it was funny. But yeah, I
Right.
enjoyed it, and it's even to the point I want to watch the sequels of it.
Yeah. Oh, they said Courtney Cox really wanted that role because it was so different from her Monica role
Mm-hmm.
on Friends. So, um, this next week, oh, this is another one of my favorites. This next week we get to watch Psycho, not the Gus Van Sant remake. Don't watch that one. The original from Alfred Hitchcock. The Gus Van Sant remake has Anne Hesh and Vince Vaughn in it,
So this
but
is the
it's not
1960 one, then, right?
right.
Okay.
Um, Fantastic film. It also has sequels. It
Okay.
has, I think there's Psychos 2 through 4. Um, but that'll be, I think you'll like that one. It's an older film, but it's paced a lot better than Freaks.
Okay.
All right, let's get to the news.
News,
Movie
news,
news
news, 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 news.
from Deadline.com and Mike Fleming Jr. We have Apple Skydance reuniting Marvel superhero stalwarts Scarlett Johansson and Chris Evans in Dexter Fletcher directed Ghosted. Um, it's a romantic action adventure.
I mean, I'll watch it. You
Let's
know, I'm
see.
just gonna be honest. I'll watch it.
Yeah, they don't get really into the plot
No, there's not.
in this article.
No, it's just not a whole lot out of it yet. So, just that they're reuniting, and it feels so good.
Well, we'll definitely have to check it out. No doubt about it. There is a Jungle Cruise sequel in the works, according to the Hollywood Reporter's Boris Kitt. The adventure movie passed the $100 million mark at the domestic box office. It says this weekend. This article was written August 30th. So that's it. They're doing a second film. Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt are both set to return.
So I'm guessing they don't die in the
Um,
first one then.
yeah, I would assume not. I don't know. They could turn it into a ghost
That's
story,
that's true, or a prequel of some sort.
a haunted riverboat, you know. Yeah, I haven't seen it. Um, I'll watch it at some point 'cause it's got The Rock in it,
Mm-hmm.
you
I'll
know.
watch anything with The Rock in it, at least once.
At least once. I think I even watched The Tooth Fairy.
Oh, that's a good one. That one's not bad.
I, I mean, you know. Next up on firstpost.com from, does this have a byline? I don't see a byline. It just says Press Trust of India. Um, Netflix has acquired the streaming rights of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel. The new film takes place years after the events of the original in a setting where Leatherface hasn't been seen or heard from since. According to the Hollywood Reporter, the streaming service has bagged the exclusive distribution rights to the project from Legendary Pictures. Directed by David Blue Garcia, the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie is a direct sequel to Tobe Hooper's 1974 classic. It features Elsie Fisher, Sarah Yarkin, Jacob Lattimore, and Mo Dunford in the lead.
Mm-hmm.
The original revolved around two siblings and their three friends on their way to visit their grandfather's grave in Texas who end up getting trapped with a family of cannibalistic psychopaths and struggle to survive the terrors of Leatherface and his brood. The new movie, which disregards all other entries in the franchise, takes place years after the shocking events of the original in a setting where Leatherface hasn't been seen or heard from since.
You're gonna make me
Chris
watch this
Thomas
movie, aren't you?
Devlin. Huh?
You're gonna make me watch this movie, aren't you? I've seen the first. I've seen the
Possibly.
original, so FYI.
You have seen the original.
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
Ex-girlfriend
the
of mine at the
original
time in high school.
original
Mm-hmm.
or the remake original?
When was the remake done?
90s or 2000s. The original was from 1974.
It was probably the. Let me look at
The
the.
remake had Jessica Biel, I think, and
It might have. I don't know. It's one of them. I don't remember which one. No, I think it was the original. Original. To be honest with you,
okay.
I
This is
didn't. I didn't
also,
watch
by the
much
way,
of it. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Was it?
yeah, you were busy doing other
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So, this is the second team up for Netflix and Legendary, by the way. They previously teamed up on Enola Holmes.
Mm,
So,
iconic. Ugh,
iconic.
another movie I can't wait for the sequel of.
Yeah.
I want
But
to. I need to
this
rewatch
is an
that.
interesting this is an interesting thing though with them doing this because this is like I mean I'm sure other franchises have done it, but the main one that's done it recently is Halloween,
Mm-hmm.
who basically jumped in and said we're going to disregard everything but the original and
Yeah.
we're going to build our
Retcon that
story
one.
off of that.
Mm, 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 mm.
Um, just a quick note here: Shazam: Fury of the Gods has finished filming and is now entering post-production.
Ready for that one.
Post-production. That's after pre-production
Yeah. Usually how that works.
and production.
Production, filming, whichever.
Yeah. Next up from The Verge and Chaim Gartenberg. Top Gun, Maverick, and Mission Impossible 7 are delayed again due to COVID concerns. Paramount is shifting the rest of its 2021 releases into next year. Um,
Cowards.
Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick was supposed to release Thanksgiving weekend and has now been moved to May 27th of 2022,
Chris, that
close to
movie was
three
supposed
years
to come
after
out.
it was
Yeah,
first
it's
announced.
supposed to come out in 2019, and now it's coming out in 2022.
On the bright side, if it's successful and they want to do another one, Tom Cruise never ages,
Right? No,
so
and he does all his own
he'll be
stunts.
ready.
Ridiculous
Yeah,
stunts.
which is fantastic. Um, it's also moving Jackass Forever to release on February 4th,
This is the one that hurts
2022.
me out of all of these movies. This is the one that hurts me. I was really looking forward to
I,
watching that next month.
yeah, but I think it's going to help both movies because Top Gun's going into the summer, which
Right.
is when it's going to do best. And you're getting Jackass out of the October spot where people are going to be seeing
Mm,
Halloween Kills. If
yeah.
if you can go see one movie, you're going to go see Halloween Kills. So they'll probably do better at the box office. Um, but since Top Gun has moved to the May 2022 slot, Mission Impossible 7 is being pushed out from that slot to September 30th of 2022.
Mm.
So,
Another movie that's been done forever.
yeah, another Tom Cruise movie.
Yep.
They're just like, hey,
He must have did something to piss
your
them off.
stuff. Yeah. Um, Ed Boon reveals Injustice animated movie releases October the 19th.
I am absolutely stoked for that movie.
It's gonna be interesting.
As someone who's played the games, read the comics,
Uh-huh.
I am all in.
Next up from comicbook.com's Spencer Perry. Russo brothers are at an impasse to direct another Marvel movie after the Scarlett Johansson lawsuit.
It's a big hit.
Um, yeah, well, so for those who don't know, she filed a lawsuit against Disney over her payments for the Black Widow movie because she didn't get fair compensation for them dropping it to the streaming service right away.
And it was in her
She only
contract.
got her box, yeah, she only got her box office cut, and she may have gotten a minimal amount
Right.
for the streaming money, but it was nowhere near what it took in, what it was credited with
Mm-hmm.
bringing in on streaming. She had to pay an extra $30, right?
Yeah.
get it. So that's a big chunk of money. Um, because they did something like 75 million
They
the
did,
first weekend,
yeah, they did really well.
and that was just the Disney Plus website.
Hmm.
So, uh, in a report on the Wall Street Journal about the fallout of Johansson's legal filing, the outlet claims that the uncertainty the lawsuit has created has caused filmmakers Joe and Anthony Russo to think twice about returning for a new Marvel movie. With 4 Marvel Studio movies under their belts, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame, the Russo brothers seemingly departed the MCU after directing the biggest movie of all time in the 2019 feature film. Um, they have spoken about returning hypothetically for projects like an adaptation of Secret Wars, recasting Wolverine in the
Could
MCU,
you imagine?
things like that. It's going to be interesting. The Russos have declined comment, but I get it. I mean, if you're going to take one of the most recognizable people on screen in your property
Hmm.
and screw them out of a bunch of money, why would the directors think it's going to be any different for them?
Right.
You know, this is going to end with Disney writing a big fat check and saying, here's all the money we
Yep.
owe you,
And every
and
contract from here on out will
apologizing.
be different, as
Hmm.
it should be, though. So,
Yeah. Next up, Halloween Kills will release day and date in theaters and on Peacock on October the 15th.
see you at your theaters, Chris.
Y- You, you gotta see it in
Yeah.
theaters.
Well,
You
again, it depends
gotta.
on COVID and everything, but I feel
Yeah,
like, I mean, we're what, weeks away at this point, so
yeah,
we'll
about a
probably
month
see it in
away.
theaters.
Yeah. And finally, speaking of theaters and speaking of Disney, which we spoke about a while ago, their remaining 2021 films are all going to have exclusive theatrical releases. This comes from CNBC and Sarah Whitten. Um, the rest of Disney's 2021 slate will all arrive in theaters exclusively, so you won't be able to watch these day and date um, on Disney Plus, even for a premium price. And they noted that the um, Shang-Chi's opening weekend brought in a box office haul of $75.5 million. Um, its
That's good.
total box office haul for the 4-day holiday weekend topped 90 million, nearly triple that of the previous Labor Day weekend record holder.
If anybody could do it, it's the
So,
MCU.
yeah. And Free Guy, which was another Disney connected film, has garnered around 240 million globally since its August 13th debut, the fifth highest haul worldwide in 2021. So they've seen that people are willing to go back to the theaters, and they're not going to put these on streaming. Um, Here are the films it's going to impact immediately. Disney's new animated feature, Encanto. It's going to have a 30-day theatrical release before becoming available on Disney Plus on Christmas Eve. And then The Eternals, The Last Duel, Ron's Gone Wrong, West Side Story, and The King's Man will all have a minimum of 45 days of exclusivity in theaters before they're brought to Disney Plus. Spider-Man No Way Home is not included. It was not mentioned, and
I think there's a reason
Sony
for
doesn't
that.
have its Sony doesn't have its own streaming platform.
There you go.
Um, but there have been whispers, unconfirmed, that this film could get pushed back a little bit.
Don't push it back. Don't do it. Not ready for
And
that.
well, we talked before we started recording. If they do it, is it a good sign for Eternals? Are they starting to feel like Eternals is going to do better? Because Eternals drops in November, and the original date now for Spider-Man No Way Home is December. So you're only giving people a month or so.
Mm-hmm.
Do they feel that confident that Eternals is going to be a big movie, and so they're just going to push Spider-Man to January or whatever?
And I don't know. I don't. Seeing a movie near Christmas time is weird to me, anyways. I've never been one of those people that go to the movie theater in December much.
Hmm.
January, I feel like would be okay, but I mean, I will for MCU. Let's just be honest, especially one of this caliber that
Yeah.
everyone's going to be talking about for weeks. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if it was pushed back, but they were waiting to see what the Shang Chi numbers did, and I don't know how could be anything but disappointed or but excited and ecstatic about the numbers, not disappointed.
Right. Yeah, because I think their second weekend has done almost as good as their first,
Hmm.
which puts them close to 200 million worldwide,
Right. So and that's without
if
China
not
because
more.
they didn't play the movie. So
They wouldn't play it.
mm, so you know how it goes.
All right. Well, like we've said, next week for next week's show, we're watching Psycho, the 1960 Psycho,
Still
and
not gotten to any of my
releases.
movies yet. So it's weird.
No,
No big
no,
deal.
it's yeah, releases this week. Um, actually, this past couple of days, Malignant came out. A horror movie came out September 10th at the theaters, and you can watch this on HBO Max.
I've heard a
So I know
lot of
Tyler's.
mixed reviews for that one.
I have to. I know it's not the content you're going to be ecstatic to watch. I may watch this at some point, hopefully this week, and just give my review next week.
Oh yeah, I like that. If you don't get hit with quadruple overtime again,
It sucked. It has sucked.
I don't miss it. All right, Chris. Some video games. I'm curious. Have you been playing anything? I know, again, like we were talking about, you were hit with overtime, but been playing anything fun? Anything new?
Uh, no, I've just been sticking to the usual.
Yeah. I'm
Not that that's not fun,
right.
but
It's I'm the same thing. Destiny 2 has taken over my life once again. Nothing new there. I played the new Fortnite event today that ended season 7, and season 8 launches here in 9-10 hours from now. Um, but nothing crazy. Now, like I talked about at the beginning of the show, I was real busy, didn't get to watch a lot of TV because PlayStation had their big showcase of the year. Finally, everyone's been waiting for. Last week, if
mm,
we did the podcast, I was going to talk about it coming up and what people were expecting. But since it's already happened, let's just get in and show you, and tell you what happened in this showcase. Let me get to the top. All right, we're on GamesRadar.com. This is by Sam Loveridge and Leon Hurley. So we got about 40 minutes of show. The first was showing off the Knights of the Old Republic is getting a remake for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and PC. It's a timed exclusive, so about a year after it will come to Xbox. Project Eve was announced. That's a big Bayonetta feel to the Project Eve's incredible looking shiny figure apocalypse. It's a game full of massive weapons and even bigger combos and moves as you battle the horror of show of monsters. It's all tentacles and openings with skittering eldritch things and monstrous hulking demons as you fight back into fist back, forth blows, parries, and dodges. Uh, Not really my kind of game. I've never got into those types, but it looks good. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, of course, in the Borderlands series, comes out March 25th, 2022. I will be playing it. Forspoken. Although the trailer was almost overshadowed by the glorious cat at the beginning, we also got a fantastic look at the gameplay you should expect in Forspoken. Our heroine goes from a commute on a bus to discovering a portal that warps her to a majestic castle. Before she knows it, she's got a giant golden cuff talking to her. Magic powers are suddenly gifted to her from a powerful leap, grapple style move, and more. It's all go in Forsaken. It's coming in spring 2022. Again, spring 2022. I'm going to go broke. February in particular. Oh, Chris, I meant to tell you. So everyone doesn't want to judge me real quick. So Horizon Forbidden West is coming out in February. They finally announced pre-orders. I bought the collector's edition for $200. So almost bought the Regalia edition, which is everything you can have. But that one was 260. I was like, I'm going to draw the line at 200 here. But I get the collector's box, the steel book, a statue, like two different statues, and then some in-game stuff. But it's okay. I already told my wife I was going to. I said, whatever the collector's edition is, I'm buying it. I don't care the price, because that, one of my favorite video games of all time. So,
Should have just gone for that extra 60 at that point.
well, it didn't really come with much
Eh.
more, but anyways. Next up, we had Rainbow Six Extraction. More footage was shown from it. We finally got the announcement of Alan Wake is being remastered, coming to PlayStation. Of course, it was a game, Xbox exclusive when it first came out. And the remaster is dropping October 5th, so only a couple weeks away. I have heard about this game, a little creepy horror style, but I am going to buy it. It's coming to Xbox as well, so I'm just going to buy it there. Grand Theft Auto 5 got pushed back for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series until next year of spring. Nobody knows why this is still a big thing while we're talking about it 3 generations later. Ghostwire Tokyo. It's hard to get a read on exactly what Ghostwire Tokyo is. It looks great, but appears to be a strange mix of fast first-person shooter action with Japanese folklore and ghost that sees you battling an unpleasant range of Slender Man-type enemies, creepy ghost nuns, and school children, and yokai-inspired monsters. There are also a few brief glimpses of what appear to be more traditional horror moments that suggest a crazy mix of scary shooter action. Again, yes, it's horror-y, scary. Doesn't look like my kind of game. Not a lot of these games really grabbed me until the end. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy got a little bit more trailers for it. Reminder, it arrives on October 26th. We got a little bit more Blood Hunt announcement trailer, a little bit more stuff there. Deathloop for the 19th time, if you're unaware of it. It comes out September 14th, which is this week. So if you're not sold on it, maybe that sold you on it for the 19th time. Kid Amnesia, Epic Games and band Radiohead are partnering up for an interactive experience called Kid Amnesia. It gets weird because Kid space Amnesia. It's really weird. It's not entirely clear of what exactly it would like to experience, but it's described as an upside-down digital analog universe created from original artwork and recordings to commemorate 21 years of Radiohead's Kids A and Amnesiac. It's coming to PlayStation 5 in November 2021. Chia was announced. I'm not even going to go into that. Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection was announced for early 2022 and packages Uncharted 4 The Thieves End and spin-off Uncharted The Lost Legacy with remastered graphics. And this is when we get to the exciting shit, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we get to the good stuff. So PlayStation Studios came out. Herman Hulse said, here's what we're looking forward to. Here's some more things we've got coming out. We get hit with our first Marvel's Wolverine. Nobody knew this was coming from Insomniac. Of course, these are the ones that have Spider-Man and Ratchet and Clank. And it looks phenomenal. Of course, just a little graphic, but I believe in anything Insomniac does. And I thought this was the only thing we're going to get from the show. Again, crazy moment. If you have not seen this, please rewatch this. Gran Turismo 7 showed off a little bit more. Didn't give us a release date until the trailer and until the PlayStation blog later for March 2022. Don't know why they don't just show the release date, but they didn't. But the biggest thing that stole the show here for me was Spider-Man 2. Of course, it was rumored, but we just got Miles Morales in late 2020, so we were like, oh, surely we're not going to get Spider-Man 2 news. But no, we did. We're going into the post here. There are many layers to Spider-Man 2's first trailer. It shows the game will see both Peter and Miles teaming up to fight crime, but more importantly, it finally confirmed Venom will be in the game after his credit tease in the original game. Perhaps more interestingly, he might be playable and join up with the more heroic Spider duo. The Russian voiceover in the trailer talks of finding, quote, someone who could beat me, unquote, and has Craven the Hunter written all over it. Is he hunting spider people for sport, forcing all webheads good and evil to team up? We'll only find out when the game arrives in 2023. I see this one being the fall game of that year, because they always have you get your spring, your summer, then your fall, typically. PlayStation does.
Spider-Ham.
Yeah, Spider-Ham. We'll see. And then the biggest thing at the very end was the God of War Ragnarok. We got the final... we got the trailer for it. We got gameplay for this one. We got a whole slew of stuff. And this is supposed to come out in 2022. I see this coming out in fall of next year. And that is it for video game news. It was a very big PlayStation showcase, very well done, and I'm really excited for everything that's coming out next year. Notable new releases, again, this is from September 6th through September 19th, so there's a lot, so keep up here with me. Sonic Colors Ultimate came out September 7th. Life is Strange True Colors came out September 10th. NBA 2K 2022 came out September 10th. Tales of Arise September 10th. WarioWare Get It Together September 10th. Fortnite Season 8 comes out this upcoming September 3rd. Deathloop September 14th. Honey, I Joined a Cult September 14th. And Where the Heart Leads for PlayStation 4 is on September 14th. And ladies and gentlemen, that has been an hour and a half of our show of the NerdWide podcast. If you enjoy what you hear, make sure you rate us and review us on whatever podcasting service you're using. If you're on YouTube watching us, make sure you leave us a thumbs up and a good comment. Let us know what you like, what you didn't like, what we can do better. What did you think of Shang-Chi? Did you watch Freaks? Did you watch Screams? Do you have any fond memories of Screams growing up as a child? Let us know what your favorite Halloween movie is as we're going into this as well. Social media, you can follow NerdWide account at nerd_wide. You can follow me at Ty_Haynes and Chris at MavTN7. If you like Facebook, you can follow nerdwide.com. That's where you can find us there on Facebook as well. And this has been this week's NerdWide podcast, episode 40. It was jam-packed. We should be back. I should be hopefully healthy next week so we can have a little bit more fun, a little bit more energy brought to you. But guys, stay safe, wear a mask, get vaccine, and we will see you next week.